Hey guys, how's it going? It's Andy from MagooInvesting. Today we're going to be continuing the Robinhood Top Stocks series, and today we're going to be talking about Boeing, ticker symbol BA. And so Boeing was in the news today because the CEO doubled down on a claim that he had last week with earnings, saying that he thinks that the 737 MAX planes, the ones that had the two crashes in the past year, he thinks that they'll be off the ground by the end of this year. And so that was kind of big news. The stock moved way more than it normally does. I believe it was up 5% on the day. And that is good news for a stock and a company that's kind of been waiting for the A-OK to get the planes off the ground again. And so from the fallout from the two crashes, the stock has kind of slid a little bit. But for a company that is as well established in the United States versus Airbus from France, it's got a very interesting dynamic for a company. And so today we're going to be talking about what I see in Boeing. We're going to talk about the technical analysis on it, what I think about the stock moving forward, and then we're going to look on the computer and see what the analysts, see what the professionals think Boeing could have in store for the next 12 months. And before we get started, I got to say that I'm not a licensed financial advisor and highly recommend going and talking to a professional, someone to find you the best places to put your money going forward. And so in the past year and a half, 2 years, Boeing had done very well. I pushed up into the mid 400s, and when the first crash happened in October of last year, the stock fell. And it was kind of just a news event. It pushed the stock down, but nothing really happened. And it later pushed up to its all-time high in March of this year. And at the middle of the month, the second plane crash happened, and the stock fell a lot. And based on the location of where the crash took place, the stock gapped down a lot and fell from its all-time high. And so in the months since those two crashes, the stock has slid slowly. There's been news stories about the entire fleet being shut down, and people have just kind of been waiting to see what's going to be happening next with Boeing. And this is the first really good news for the company going forward. And so I think this is an opportunity to take advantage of a well-established company at a discount. And when we go and talk and what we see on the charts and what the analysts think, I think this is an incredible opportunity. And now let's go hop on the computer and do my technical analysis, see what the analysts have to say, and I'll come back and summarize everything. So here we are looking at Boeing on Robinhood today. As you can see, it had an incredible day, up 4.5%. It has a 52% buy rating on Robinhood with 34,000 people owning it. And as we go down right here, it has a dividend yield of 2.12%. As we keep going, these are the news events, talking about how as Boeing went up based off the news, it pushed the Dow up as it is a member of the Dow Jones Industrial Average. And so things in the past week was down a little bit, and then that news pushed it up, down on the month, up 9% on 3 months, and then pretty even on 1 year. 5 years up 193%, so that's really good. As we go and look at TD Ameritrade, you can see kind of the crazy year that Boeing has had. We'll go to my favorite time frame, the 180-day chart. And as you can see, this is when the second crash, or this is where the second crash took place, gapped down and kind of stabilized for a little bit, waited for more news stories. This is probably when the fleet got grounded indefinitely, and things have just kind of been pretty horizontal for a while. And so you had the earnings that came out, didn't really do a lot to the stock, but then when we come to the 5-day chart, you can see the big boost it had when the CEO doubled down on saying that he thinks that the planes will get off the ground at the end, or by the end of this year, so sometime in December. So that was a big boost to the stock. As we go to the 180-day chart, I charted out some nice zones on here. Normally when I'm investing in stocks or I'm swing trading them, I won't be looking to take a position close to a resistance. Boeing may be an outlier for that for me. Just for the reason that I think this news event might be the momentum it needs to get the stock back on track. For a stock that's very volatile, which Boeing is not, buying into a resistance is super risky. But I would feel pretty confident taking a position, having to come down, maybe retest this zone. But I think Boeing has a great long-term future, just as long as there's not a horrible news event coming out in the future. So that's just kind of the risk that's involved. Normally the risk in taking a swing trade is the volatility. The volatility with Boeing is the potential of another news story knocking it down further. So when we go to the 10-year 1 day, you can see the crazy returns Boeing has had in the past, and then it's been pretty choppy for a little bit. And so I believe October. So I believe the first crash was in here and then the second crash was here. So things have been pretty flat. And so since then, we're still below that level. And so I think people were just kind of waiting to see what was happening. The stock has just kind of slid. But when we go and just kind of get rid of these couple years that we have on the chart right here and go back, we can see the type of returns that Boeing has had in the future or in the past. And so that is very attractive for me for a company that's so well established as Boeing is. It has its competitor in Airbus, which I would highly recommend doing your own research on that. I think Boeing is above Airbus in that aspect, but that's just my own personal opinion. So overall on the charts, what I'm seeing is it's been pretty horizontal for a while. If you wanted to take the safer approach, or if I wanted to take the safer approach, I'd probably wait for it to break above this level. I'll set an alert right here. And then an alert to break the recent highs. So that's what I'd be watching. I'm also going to set an alert to see if it comes back down to here, just because I like getting companies that I like at a discount and I don't want to miss it if it comes back down here. And so long term, I can see this going back up. Let's see what percent we have to get back to the all-time high. So we're right there. So that's 18%. And so 18% for a company like Boeing, great returns. I would love to see that. Now let's go take a look to see what the analysts have to say. CNN, this is crazy. So the stock is still up almost 14% year to date. But for a price forecast for a company as massive as Boeing is, 42% is incredible. You have the risk involved in it, as I've mentioned a lot of times in this video already, but 42% while risking 12%, for a company like Boeing, that's very attractive for me. You don't see a lot of these companies that have this sort of price forecast. Like let's see, a reliable company like Microsoft, they have it at plus 16%, and then you go back to Boeing, 42%. So that is why I think this is potentially a great opportunity. It's smack dab in the middle of its 52-week range, even more attractive for me. And then on Yahoo Finance, they have it as a hold for the analyst recommendation, undervalued, which I absolutely agree with. Up in the short term, maybe because of the recent news events, down in the medium and long term. I kind of disagree with that, but I highly recommend doing your own research. Maybe you would agree with Yahoo, maybe you'd agree with me. That's what the great thing about investing is. We have so many different options out there, and so I may think that Boeing is very attractive for an investment, but you don't have to think that, and you don't have to put your money in there. So overall, I think Boeing is going to be very interesting to watch to see if it can gain the momentum that I think it might to push above these recent 182 or 180-day highs and push back up and have it be the type of returns that it's seen in the past. Since 2018, things have been pretty flat, and I'm curious to see if it'll go back to its skyward bound ways. So that's what I'll be watching. So overall, I think Boeing is in a very nice spot for investors going forward. This is not the type of company where I put in money and next week expect to be up 10%. This is kind of a slower moving company because just of how big it is overall and just kind of the price action that it's had in the past. And so for a company that has a track record that it has and how well established it is in its field, I think it's crazy that the analysts think that it could go up more than 40% this year or in the next 12 months. And so when you're taking this into account, you think, oh man, that's really good for a company like this. But with the track record it's had of the two crashes in the past year kind of erasing years worth of gains in the stock, that's just kind of a risk that you have to take into account. If something else happens, I guarantee everything will be grounded again, and it'll be even longer before they get back up in the air, and it'll be a massive hit on the company, and Airbus may be able to take advantage of that. And so when I talk about stocks that I look to invest in, I'm looking for stuff that I use, I know, and I care about. Being currently living in the Pacific Northwest, very near Boeing headquarters in Seattle, having to drive up to see my buddies, I have to go past the airfield every time. So Boeing is something that's close to my heart. I think it's a great company. I have to buy something that's on a discount, and from the past almost year of sliding after the two crashes, that checks that box. And then third is I have to see a trend of things getting better. And with this news story coming out that the CEO hopes to get the planes off the ground by the end of the year, may not be in a circulation, but may be to get the pilots training again, I think this is a very good sign for Boeing going forward. And so for most stocks, I talk about not buying into a resistance, but for a long-term investment, that I would be taken advantage of with Boeing, I wouldn't be as worried about that. I think getting the planes off the ground would be a huge boost to the stock, and the stock will continue to gain over the next couple years. So this is something where I'm going to have to sit down and take a really long look at Boeing, because with this news coming out, I think this is a great opportunity. So let me know what you think about Boeing. Is it as good of a deal as I personally think it is? Or is it just kind of something where the next bad news story that comes out is going to really hurt the stock overall? So let me know what you think in the comments section down below. And if there's a stock or an idea you'd like me to go over in a future video, please leave it in the comments section down below as well. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode of Robinhood Top Stocks.